Before starting the second lecture, I will be discussing some basic concepts which you will be needing in this chapter. So here I am discussing the moment of inertia. Generally, you know the moment of inertia are basically two types. One is mass and second one is area. You have already studied both these moment of inertia in your first year in engineering mechanics. So basically in the vibration analysis, we need, whenever you are having a angular motion, then we need to find the angular acceleration, which is nothing but I alpha. I is basically a mass moment of inertia, and this will be taken about some axis. Sometime it is about center of gravity, or sometime it is at the one end of the body. And alpha is basically the angular acceleration in nothing but theta double dot. So here I am discussing the mass moment of inertia of the regular bodies, which will be used to analyze a mathematical model of a machine tool or machines. So here the first one is a point. When you are having a point mass, this mass is m here, and the string or the rod which is connecting to this mass is rigid and massless. Then it become a point mass. And if you take a moment of inertia about this point, it become I is equal to mr square. Similarly, when you have the thin rod, and this is the CG of this rod. So here, if you take a moment of inertia about perpendicular to the length, it become half 1 by 12 ml square. Similarly, when you want to find the mass moment of inertia about the perpendicular passing through a one end of the rod, it become 1 by 3 ml square. You can also find this moment of inertia from this one by using parallel axis theorem. Which states that moment of inertia about any point other than CG is given by moment of inertia about CG plus m into distance of m is the mass of the body, distance between the 2 points, that is from CG to the desired point. So here it is basically nothing but L by 2. So when I add this value, then nothing but m L by 2 square, then you are getting this value. This ml square by 4 plus this one, it become 1 by 3 ml square. And you know that mass moment of inertia is nothing but half mk square, where k is the radius of gyration. Okay. Now you are having a thin wall cylinder. It can be a cylinder or it can be a disc. So here, if we are having a disc, then L will be very small. If it is cylinder, for cylinder case, it is basically quite large value. So in this case, you are having a mr square. M is the mass of the cylinder or disc. It can be seen that nothing but mk square, and k will become simply equal to r. And as per the gyration, uh, you can say gyration value, here the total mass is basically acting on the r value. All right. So this basically a k is equal to r here. Similarly, when you are having a thick wall cylinder, here thickness is very small. But if the thickness is quite appreciable here, then moment of inertia about this axis is given by half m r1 square plus r2 square. And if it is a cylinder, then your r1 will become 0. If it is solid cylinder, r1 becomes 0 here, and it comes out to be this one square. So you can write, if I write this value here, so here this is basically nothing but half mr square. Now if you want to find the solid cylinder moment of inertia about the perpendicular axis passing through the CG, then it comes out to be 1 by 4 mr square plus 1 by 12 ml square. Similarly, when you are having a solid sphere, it is having a 2 by 5 mr square about a axis passing through the center. If you are having a thin hollow sphere, then you are having a 2 by 3 mr square. So for a thin ring, about the diameter, the moment of inertia of mass is given by 1 by 2 mr square. While this is basically a moment of inertia about the cylinder, about the axis of the cylinder. For a slab, moment of inertia passing through the CG and perpendicular to the plate is given by m a square plus b square by 1 by 12, where a and b are the dimension of its plate, and plate is basically a very small thickness, and m is the mass of the plate. If we are having a cone, then its moment of inertia of mass about this centroidal axis is given by 3 by 10 mr square. So I will be using all these formulae as per the body uh, given in the problem. Most likely we are basically like to use this one and this one also, sometime sometime this one, and you can also find sometime this one and this also. So but you should remember all this thing while analyzing the vibration analysis problem. Now let us discuss the chapter now. So I will be basically changing my screen now. We'll stop sharing for a moment and we'll open the new slide. Hello Mukul, what you are seeing here now?
So the screen is not presenting.
Not present. Okay, okay. Is it visible? Is it visible now?
No, sir, no.
What is the problem here? Is it right now? Hello,
No,
Mukul?
sir. Yes, sir. Now it is there.
Okay, okay.
Undamped free vibration of single degree of
Yeah,
freedom
yeah,
system.
okay.
Yes, sir.
Now let us start the second chapter now. So you know that if you want to design a machine or machine part, which are subjected to some vibratory forces, then our main aim is to find natural frequencies to avoid the resonance conditions. As you know that at resonance conditions, you will be having a very excessive displacement or deformation, and which may cause the complete failure of a system. So in our cases, damping maybe sometimes damping is so small in some cases and it can be neglected, and this is the ideal modeling of a machine tool. So in this chapter you will be having the knowledge and how to find out the frequencies of the system, and we will start with the classical spring mass system here. So basically, to find out the frequency of a system, we need to derive differential equation of motion. So here basic, and you will be having five methods to derive this equation of motion. I will be discussing some of them in this lecture class and some of the coming classes. So here the first one is by applying Newton's second law. So as per this law, I can write the basic formula for this. For the as per this law, for a dynamic system, you will be having some acceleration. So you will be having either a accelerating force or moment or torque, depending upon the motion the system has, and this should be equal to restoring force oblique moment oblique torque. I will use this equation for Newton's second law. So here I am having a before that let me explain one more point here. Let me explain the two more concept here. So the first one is internal and external forces. Suppose you are having a prismatic bar subjected to some axial force of P here. If I take a small segment here, and if you want to draw free body diagram of this, I'll explain what is the free body diagram, okay? Free body diagram. Free body diagram is that diagram where you will be putting all external and internal forces, okay? So here, if I draw the free body diagram of the three segments here, so this is your external forces acting at this point and at this point. And you know that this original figure is under static equilibrium condition. So each component of these three one will also be in equilibrium condition. So I can draw the resultant the forces at this plane. This is your P here. This is basically static equilibrium condition here. Similarly, I can write this one here. This is your static equilibrium condition here. And I can have a, to balance this force, you will be having some opposite force here, P. The same thing will be here. So you can see here, for this plane, as well as for this plane, when you are having a axial tensile force P, then on this plane, internal plane, you are having a compressive stress force. So if we are having a external force tensile, then it will become compressive force at any plane. So basically at this plane, you can have a, this is known as basically a free body diagram of this system. So I will use this concept also very frequently in this analysis. And you can say this spring is basically massless, rigid member. So it will not have any in the analysis. And because of that, it becomes a lump system. Is this one. So when I put a mass M on the spring, then it is basically stretched by this much amount. This is known as a delta ST. And delta ST is known as a static deflection. So when I put the mass M on this, it has become this figure. So you can say mg is the force acting downward, and spring force is nothing but k delta st. So you can say here, so for equilibrium condition of the spring mass system, you are getting this equation. This is your condition here. Now if I displace this mass in a downward direction by x, then you are having some you are having a some accelerating force acting vertically downward, mx double dot, and now what about this one? So if I take a free body diagram of the mass, it has been shown here. All right. So now spring is basically under tensile force externally. So it will be having a, internally it will be having a compressive force, and this force is nothing but spring coefficient into total displacement delta st plus x, which I am showing here. So I can have a feedback diagram. This is basically this only. So this is your spring force here, K delta st, and this is your spring force. Then you are having a gravitational force, mg, acting vertically downward. This is your acceleration, and you are having a accelerating force, mx double dot. Now to write this equation that I have already mentioned, that the accelerating force is equal to restoring force, you have to decide a sign convention. So if I consider vertically downward sign positive, then your upward will become minus, negative. So here I can write the accelerating force is equal to restoring force. This is our basic equation for Newton's second law. So here you will be having a, this is your accelerating force, and rest is equal to, this is your mg, this is your again in positive direction, then you are having a negative direction force minus k delta st plus x. So from our earlier equation, these two will cancel out, and you are getting minus k into x, or I can write mx double dot plus kx is equal to 0. And this is your equation of motion. So this you got this equation of motion here. So now in this case, I am assuming this as a reference point for my analysis. Now if I consider this as my other reference point, if I consider this a reference point here, then for this reference point, you will be having only the spring force is nothing but kx, and your accelerating force will be nothing but mx double dot. Again, you can write the same equation here, and this become mx double dot is equal to minus kx. This is in the positive direction, and this is your in the negative direction. So I can write this negative sign here. Again, you are getting the same equation here. So you can say here, for simplicity, in some problems, you can start the reference point is the equilibrium position. This is your equilibrium position, can be referred as a reference point. And some points you will be having a initial position of the spring and system as a reference point. Is it clear? Now the second method is your D'Alembert's principle. So we can also derive the same equation by D'Alembert's principle. This D'Alembert principle is basically converting a dynamic system into a static equilibrium condition. So a dynamic system will be having some acceleration, and so will be having some accelerating force. In this case, this is your m x double dot, and you are having some direction for that force. If I introduce a pseudo inertia force as an external force, and this inertia force will be mass of the body into acceleration, and this will be acting opposite to the acceleration direction. If I apply this pseudo force to the mass, then your system will come under the static equilibrium condition. So if I go back to my slide here, this one, so this is your accelerating force. If I apply a pseudo accelerating force in the opposite direction of the acceleration, this is this force, then your this complete system will come to under static equilibrium condition. And you can apply now static equilibrium equations here. That is nothing but summation of F is equal to 0, or summation of torque is equal to 0, or summation of moment is equal to 0. And then you can find the equation of motion. So again, in this case, you can consider any sign convention here. So this is your, suppose this is your positive sign convention, this is negative one here. So I can write as per this equation, it becomes simply minus kx plus m minus, sorry, this is minus here, minus m x double dot is equal to 0, or I can write mx double dot plus kx is equal to 0. Again, it is the same equation which you are getting here. So this is the second method. In this method, we basically bring to the system to its equilibrium condition by applying pseudo inertia force to a system. Now let us have one problem here. This is your this problem. This is a simple pendulum. Again, you can apply Newton's second law here, and this is the mass of the small pendulum m, and this is the string to which this mass is attached. Again, string is considered as a rigid massless body, and if I displace this mass by angle theta in a counterclockwise sense, then it is having a vertical downward force mg here, and I can draw a component of this force. This is your mg cos theta, and this is your mg sin theta. Now here, for a small value of theta, sin theta is equal to tan theta is equal to theta. So I can write nothing but mg into theta. Now when I rotate this by theta, you will be having a angular acceleration is given by d double dot, theta double dot, nothing but alpha. Then you are having a accelerating torque or moment about O is given by I about O into alpha. And you know the I naught, I about O for a lump mass system of M is given by M L square, M square into theta double dot. Now here, this mg sine theta is basically the restoring force, and because of that, the pendulum will come to its equilibrium conditions. We'll try to come to this point here. So again, the torque or the moment of this force about this O is given by as a restoring force, restoring torque. This is your restoring torque. And it is given by mg theta into L. Now, if I consider this direction as a positive direction, then this become a negative direction. Now, again, I can write the formula, that is your accelerating force, accelerating torque or moment, whatever you say to like, is equal to restoring torque is given by, so this is your positive value, nothing but ml square into theta double dot. Then this is your equal to, rest are the restoring torque. This is your mg theta into L. In the negative direction, I can put minus here. So here, these two will cancel out. This m, L, L here. It becomes theta double dot plus g upon L into theta. This is your equation of motion for the system. So is it clear now? So you are getting this equation Lg upon this. Now let us come okay, now you are having a spring control pendulum. So I am putting a spring here. And this spring and the equilibrium condition, the pendulum is in the vertical direction. So here, so we need to derive the differential equation of motion for a spring controlled pendulum, and spring, as it is saying that it is the unstretched position when pendulum rod is vertical. So there is no spring force in the spring under the static equilibrium condition. So for this one, so now again, to write the equation of motion of any system, you need to displace the mass by some displacement. This displacement can be x or it can be theta. And then for that point, you write down all the possible forces acting on the system, and then you draw the free body diagram of that small segment and show all the forces there, and then write the equation accordingly. So in this case, I am displacing it by theta. So for this theta, your spring, this is your A. So spring will get deflected by A theta. Now again, the spring is under tension externally. So internally, you will be having this type of force in the spring. This is your K into displacement A theta. So I will basically consider this one for this point. This is your spring force for the theta rotation. Again, you are having a light and stiff rod here. So again, you will be having the accelerating torque is given by ml square. This is the I naught into theta double dot. All right. This is your accelerating torque. So again, you will be having a component of the forces. This is your mg. This is your theta value here. It become mg cos theta. And this is your mg sine theta. And for a small value of theta, it become mg theta. So again, you are having a restoring torque in this direction. It is given by mg theta into L. Now in this one, again you will be having some restoring torque because of the spring force. And again for this case, you are having a restoring torque is given by K A theta about the point O. I am finding everything about the point O, whether it is the pendulum mass, whether it is the spring force, into A. Now again, you can write the equation of motion here. So again, I can write accelerating torque or moment. I can say moment here is equal to restoring torque. And here, if I consider this is the positive direction, then this will become the negative direction. So I can write this is your ml square into theta double dot is equal to, this is your minus mg L into theta. Then you are having a minus, again you are having a Ka square into theta. So again you can write this is the equation of motion for the spring control pendulum. And you can see here the equation of motion will become now ml square theta double dot plus mgl plus ka square into theta is equal to 0. So basically you must have a two components here for the equation of motion. First one is your acceleration. Second one is your displacement. And you must have a positive sign here just to have a vibration in a system. Now let us solve the differential equation of motion here. So you got, for a classical lump spring mass system, we got this equation of motion. And you can write this equation in this form. Divide this equation by m, it become x double dot k upon m, this one. And if you remember my first lecture class, I have told that this is basically equal to x double dot plus omega n square into x is equal to 0. So I can say this component is equal to omega n square. So now this is basically a second order differential equation. And this will be having a three standard solution. This will be having a three standard solutions. First one in sine and cosine term, second one in a sine term, and third one is in cosine term. In all the three equations, you are getting a two unknown variables. In this a and b, in this a1 and phi 1, in this a2 and phi 2. And these coefficients needs to be evaluated. And for that purpose, we are having a initial conditions. As its name indicate, these are the conditions which are defined at t is equal to 0. Now, generally, people are using the first equation to solve this equation of displacement. So now suppose you are having this spring mass system. You displace it by x naught initially, and you leave this mass m gently so that the velocity at this point is 0. So the initial conditions for this type of displacement are nothing but you are having a at t is equal to 0, displacements is x naught, and at t is equal to 0 you are leaving the mass gently, it is having a velocity is also equal to 0. So these two are the initial conditions for this problem. And you are having a two unknowns, you are having a two conditions, so you can solve these two conditions and you will form two equations. So in this case, you can write the displacement equations is given here. It is the first equation of the three standard solutions. This is the velocity equations. Then you can put the value of these conditions in these two equations, and you will be getting at t is equal to 0, x is equal to x naught, and it is giving this value. So your b comes out to be x naught. Similarly, when you write at t is equal to 0, x dot is equal to 0, so you will be having in this equation, this is sine is basically 0 here, and t is equal to, it is basically 1, it is basically 1 here. So you are getting a is equal to 0 here. The solution of this equations is now given by, but you can put value of a is equal to 0. It become b is equal to basically x naught. So you are getting a solution of this problem for the above mentioned initial condition is given by x is equal to x naught cos omega and t. And I can plot this equation above, and this comes out to be like this. This is your cosine curve. This is your time displacement curve for Km model for given initial condition. And this is how you solve a problem of displacement. Now in this one, you will have some more interesting points. This is your equation of displacement. So here you can see this is your time period is given by 2 pi upon omega n. This will be in second, and you can find the frequency in hertz here. Now you already seen that our omega n is given by square root of k upon m. If I multiply this equation in both the side, it becomes k into g divided by mg. And you know that mg upon k is given by static deflection. So I can write this k upon mg is equal to 1 upon delta st. So if you know the static deflection of a system, then you can straightway find out the omega n of a system. And if you remember my first lecture, I have told that this omega n is constant for a system. It is because of this equation only. For a system, your delta st is a constant value, and g is also a constant value. So your omega n will always be a constant for a given system. So if your delta st is in centimeter, then it should be 981, and if it is in meter, it should be 9.81. So if you put the value here, this is g is given in 9.81, it means this will be in meter. So if you know the delta st, you can find the frequency of the vibrating system in hertz by this formula. And you will be using this formula too many times in numerical problems. Sometimes you will be given delta st straightway, you can find the omega n straightway from there. So I can have one more problem here. So now this is the next problem. You are having a equation, you are having a this diagram here. So in this, you are having a one L-shaped crank. This is the L-shaped crank. And on this, you are having a mass M is put there. The length is basically L into B, and it is basically held by this manner that you are having a spring here of K. Now let me go to the statement here. So you are having you need to find differential equation of motion here. and the mass moment of inertia of the M as well as the crank lever about the O is J naught. You need to find what is the time period of the vibration of a system in the vertical plane. To find the time period, you must know what is the equation of motion there. You will be finding omega n from there, and then you can find the time period. Now the second part is that whether there is any limitation on the value of B to have the system in vibration. So for that, let us go back to our this one. So again, I will put a normal spring without the bell crank here. Suppose this is the original length of the spring, and when I put the bell crank as well as the mass here, it become horizontal here. So this is your delta ST. So here spring force is nothing but spring force is K delta ST, and this is basically spring is under tension here. So you are having a internal tension, internal force is given by this. So at this point, if I take a moment about this point, now this is the equilibrium condition for the system. So you are having a spring, this is your mg force acting of this mass here, and then we are considering that this crank length L and B are rigid and massless. So I can take a moment equation about O must be equal to 0. If I consider this type of positive value, positive direction, then you are having a mg, you are having a mg into L is the in positive moment about this point O, then this is the negative moment minus K delta ST, this is the force, and the moment arm is A, it becomes 0. So you are getting this equation here. Now, as I have mentioned that you have to displace this system by theta. All right. So I am displacing this mass by theta. So again, displacement will be here a theta for the spring. So you will be having a spring force now under compressive one, as it is externally tensile, it become K a theta plus delta ST. Then now here, this is your gravitational force. This is your gravitational force mg, and again this will be your theta. So you are having a two component of the forces. This is your mg sine theta, and this is your mg cos theta. For small value of theta, it will become mg theta, it will become mg. So now you will be having a moment of these two forces about O, and you will be having a accelerating torque or moment is given by J naught is the mass moment of inertia of the whole system into alpha, nothing but J naught theta double dot. So for this mg, you are having a moment about the point O is given by mg into L about this point. This is your L here. And moment of this one about the O is given by mg theta into moment arm is given by this particular distance. This is your again in the clockwise direction given by mg theta into the value of this is nothing but b. And then you are having a this spring moment about the point O is given by k a theta plus delta st into this is your a. So now you are having all the moment about the point O, and then you can write the equation of motion from the formula here, that is your accelerating moment is equal to restoring moment. So here you are having this is your only accelerating moment, that is nothing but j naught theta double dot, and rest are the restoring moment. Let us first write this one. Again I will say if it is a positive value, positive direction, it become a negative direction. So it will become now first you take mgl into theta, then you are having a mg theta this is your mgl. Let me read. So you are having a mg into L plus mg theta into B, then you are having a minus k a theta plus delta st into a. And if you remember our this equation, so mgl comes out to be k delta st here. So mgl will cancel out k delta st. So your equation of motion will become now j theta double dot plus ka minus mg b into theta is equal to 0, and you are getting the same equation here. This is your j theta, so you are getting this equation j theta into, okay, this is k square. You are having a k square here. So this is your equation of motion for this for this system. K a square. Okay, all right. Now from this you can find the natural frequency of a system in radian per second, and you are getting a time period for this. And you know that this time period cannot be a imaginary number. It will always be a real number. And for a real number, this denominator must be equal to more than 0. And when it is less than 0, it is having a imaginary number, and for that condition there will not be a time period. So this is the limiting conditions for a vibration for the system. So in that case you can say here, for a vibrating system your Ka square must be more than mgb, or I can say the B must be less than K square upon mg. If this is the condition, then only the system will vibrate and will have a time, some time period. Otherwise, it will be having a imaginary system. This is all about this lecture class. Anybody can ask any doubt if it has. All right.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Then I am ending this meeting. We'll
Okay,
continue
sir.
with the article in next classes. Okay.
Yes, sir.